So when we were talking to Fabrizio about Kim Min-jae a few weeks ago, he said keep an eye on French centre-backs playing in France. And it's universally established that this is Axel Dessi of Monaco. Now, Fabrizio this afternoon has said this. Both Manchester United and Newcastle are exploring a deal for Axel Dessi. Eric Ten Hag has approved the signing of him, but there is no approach to Monaco as of yet. Now, this is A Star. This is Fabrizio Romano. And, you know, that was an exclusive on this channel at the time. When we were talking to Fabrizio, we were talking about... and Todobi is better, says Manic. Well, look, this is where we're at. We were talking to Fabrizio about Kim Min-jae, and I think I asked the question, what happens if we don't get Kim Min-jae? Because we get used to that. And he said French centre-back playing in France, which is obviously Disasi. That's obviously option 2 for Ten Hag. Now, what you got to remember is Ten Hag wanted Kim Min-jae. I don't think he's going to sit there and go, that's all I wanted. That's all I wanted. I don't want anything else. You've got to have a plan B. And as Fabrizio is saying there, Ten Hag has authorised Manchester United to go and get him. He is the centre-back. He is the option 2. He is the plan B. But Newcastle are in the race now, and Man United haven't made an approach. And my fear here is that we could well see Disasi, just like we can see Kim Min-jae playing in a Bayern Munich shirt, we'll now see Disasi playing in a Newcastle shirt, because I would argue that Newcastle are probably better than us at getting deals done. So it's going to be interesting, but he is clearly the centre-back that Ten Hag wants now. And the fact that it's coming from Fabrizio, I think you can take it as nailed on. It's just whether we can get the deal. And I don't like the idea that Newcastle are in for him. Hi, Mark. We've talked about homegrown rule, and I'm right. Lavia would be homegrown player in a few years, and nobody has mentioned it. If I'm right, says WJ Key. We're not in for Lavia at the moment, pal. And hi, Mark. Do you think United will sign Højlund? And what do you think we will do in the Champions League with Ten Hag, says Said? I think... I don't really want to predict what we're going to do in anything at the moment, because I don't really know what we're looking like at the moment. There's too many players that are there that shouldn't be there at the moment, and that will have an impact on our season if we don't remove them and replace them with better. Somebody mentioned Amrabat there. If Scott McTominay's still here, we won't get Amrabat. Somebody mentioned, you know, we're talking about the centre-back. If Harry Maguire's still here, we won't buy a centre-back. So if Martial stays, we won't get a João Felix or another striker. So Asher says Disasi is another upper Meccano. Well, that brings me on to the next thing here. What I would say is that we were talking about Harry Maguire this morning and having the captaincy stripped off him. And I was on Talk Sport a couple of hours ago doing the Mark Goldbridge show, and a few people called in about Harry Maguire and said, look, he's got to go. I think that he's having a chat with Eric Ten Hag this week. I think that chat is going to be leave. I really do. Because, I mean... if you are buying Disasi or you bought Kim Min-jae, what was Harry Maguire's role this summer? I mean, look, it's almost a glimpse into the guy, isn't it? Talking about Disasi, I think the most important thing here, and I'd love to know what you think. I don't know anything about him. It's very rare, but I don't actually know much about him. He's 25. I think he's got a couple of caps for France. I don't really know anything about him. I really don't. I mean, I know who he is. I've seen little bits of him, but I'm far from being able to analyse his game. And you know, I'll leave it to the hipsters who apparently have been seeing him for weeks, for years. He's not a centre back at 25. I'm actually quite surprised. I think most decent centre backs by the time they're 25, you would have a working knowledge of who they are. Like Liverpool are after that Schürrle guy at Torino. I don't think he's 25. I remember him from being at Ajax, and I think he looked like he was going to have a good future. He's at Torino. Liverpool looking to buy him. I'm like, oh yeah, no, I remember him. Disasi is just not a player that I've ever gone. I just don't know where he's been. I don't know anything about him. I really don't. So I can't comment on it. Again, I'd have to trust Eric Ten Hag, and presumably he's not played with Ten Hag before at Ajax, but I don't know much about him, so I can't sit there and say, I can't even honestly sit there and say he's better than Maguire. I mean, is he? I don't know. Ten Hag has to be accountable for David and Ronaldo treatment and downplaying the FA Cup and the treble. He has to preserve the legacy while making his own, says Prince. And I heard that Kim Min-jae wanted to be a starter, so chose Bayern. Also, would you take Kessie? I heard he's for sale, says FIFA. Well, Kessie is a funny one. We're not linked to him anyway, FIFA crazy, but I've always quite liked him. As for Kim Min-jae choosing Bayern Munich because he was going to be a starter there, that's not true. He chose Bayern Munich because they offered him a better deal. and United couldn't do that because United are United. Why aren't we going after Taremi? He's reported 20 million euros and immediately gives us the veteran striker we're looking for, says Sohail. I can easily answer that one for you. If Taremi's so good and so cheap, why aren't Chelsea going after him? Why aren't Arsenal going after him? Why aren't Spurs going after him? Why aren't Newcastle going after him? There's a bloody good answer to that question, isn't there? So, you know, I'm not saying he wouldn't work, but let's not pretend there's a big queue for the bargain of the century. Off topic, but is financial fair play not just a rouse to make clubs believe we are skint? 100%, Daniel. And thanks for all the content over the years, Mark. Really enjoying it. You looking forward to our first pre-season game on Wednesday? Swift, I am looking forward to the game on Wednesday, just simply to watch some football. I mean, the last football game I watched was the Champions League final. I haven't watched a proper game of football since then. I don't watch England, and so it's been a while. I'm looking forward to watching a bit of football, even though it'll be very sporadic. So yeah, look, let's see what happens with this Dessi deal. It might not be the most glamorous deal for people, but it is the centre-back that we're looking at now. Newcastle are obviously in for him, so he probably signs for Newcastle. But as I say, I think the writing's on the wall for Harry Maguire. Like, we're trying to buy a centre-back. This is the second one we've tried to buy this summer, and Lindelof's not sellable because he doesn't want to sell him. And Varane and Martinez are his number 1 and 2. So it doesn't look good for Harry Maguire, does it? And I think he's got to be having that chat with Erik ten Hag this week and looking to get a move. And I'd be very interested to see where he goes. Thanks for all the content. Done that one from Swift. Welcome to Members Club, Ashan. Desasi is nowhere near Kim Min-jae in pace and aggressiveness, says God's will. Desasi is 100% a Ten Hag signing. You know, 100%. Phil B says McTominay is better than Fred. Well, let's say this then. Let's do a poll. Mark, when is Rice being announced? I'm getting fed up waiting, says Zane. I don't really understand why Rice hasn't been announced. I thought he was going to get announced last week. I actually thought he'd already been announced. Fred or McTominay, who would you keep? Get your votes in the chat. Have your say there. Fred is going to leave Manchester United. It's slow sports news. He is going to leave. There's been a few stories about him getting a new agent today. He obviously will leave Manchester United. There's no doubt about that. But I feel that there are some people that think it might not be the right thing to do with Fred. I would class Fred as a player that I think that last season, one of the best individual performances of the season was arguably Fred's against Spurs at home. I thought he played absolutely brilliant. He was a huge part of the high press that worked really, really well. And, you know, I think when Fred plays like that, there's a very, very, very good player there.